You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. With me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And every week, I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid, working, unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready?
Okay, so on today's episode of Unstoppable Actors, I am so excited because we've got an actor who is insanely talented and someone that I would class as a dear friend as well, who is going to be in a show in London called Toxic, and he is here to speak all about that and how he's prepping for the role, how he got the role, how he even became an actor. I want to dive into that. So welcome to the show, Patrick. It's so nice to have you here.
Hello. Oh, thanks for a lovely intro and thank you for having me.
I am so excited. I just think today is going to be a really inspiring conversation. I think our listeners are going to get so much from it because they're pretty much in the shoes that you were in right at the very beginning of your career when you knew you wanted to be an actor and you were just trying to figure it all out. Like, how do I get started? What do I do? So they're going to take so much from this. So I guess the first question is, I want to go right back to the very beginning. How did you even know you wanted to be an actor?
That's a good question, actually. How did I want to know? Well, to be honest, I knew because there was nothing else that brought me joy. Well, no, that sounds a bit doom and gloom, doesn't it? But there was nothing else that fulfilled me in the same way that acting did, or performing, should I say. It was what I always loved since I was a kid and loved putting on a show, whether it was, being part of the nativity at my local church for all the old people, or whether it was just putting on a show in my living room for my parents and my brothers, who most of the time wanted to beat me up. It was just that incessant need to perform and to share and to tell stories. And as I got a little bit older, that just never went away. And there was nothing else that kind of matched that storytelling need, I guess. So in a way, it was always kind of inevitable. But weirdly, it wasn't what I went straight into. As you know, I kind of left school, left college, didn't have the direction to go into acting. So weirdly, even though it was something I always wanted to do and felt like I had to do, it actually took me a lot of courage to get to the point where I was like, right, I'm going to do this thing that I love.
I really love that you've said that word courage, because that's what it takes. A lot of people think it takes confidence, but in my mind, it doesn't. It takes courage. You always have courage before confidence, and the confidence comes as a byproduct. But I just want to say I really relate to what you've just said, because when I was a little girl, I used to do exactly the same thing. I used to drag my sisters into doing little shows with me, whether it be like dance shows or pretending to do Blue Peter or the news. They hated it, but I loved it. And I think that's definitely a sign that you should be an actor, or you should at least, try it out and see if it is for you. Did your mum and dad support your acting dreams? Like, how did you break it to them? Because I know for some people, it can be quite scary to tell their parents, because some people have parents who think they should go down the more traditional academic route.
Do you know what they did? They always did, and they supported it in their own way, but they fully supported it. I mean, I'd already come out as gay to them, so coming out as an actor was fine. But yeah, my parents, or none of my family is artsy or performative. I come from a very traditional Irish family, so on paper, you'd think they wouldn't really be supportive, but actually they saw the joy that it brought me ever since I was a kid. And they also saw the talent that was in there that needed refining, but they saw it. And, I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So
wow.
All of my older siblings kind of have real jobs, and I think by the time it got to me, they were probably just like, do you know what? Do it. And they've actually been my number one fans all along.
That's so lovely. Yeah. I can't believe how many brothers you've got.
I know, it's wild.
I can imagine it is in the Price household.
Yeah, growing up, it was more like a kennels than a house with that many little boys running around.
That's so funny. I want to go back to this idea of courage because, as you know, I'm very big on mindset. It's what I just preach about it every day of my life, but also to my students as well because it's so important. Where did you find that courage to pursue an acting career? Because it can be scary to do it. I think, at least my understanding from the students that I've taught and from speaking to other aspiring actors is that a big thing is money. Like, money holds people back. There's a lot of people with money blocks, money fears, and also the fear that this might not actually happen because obviously, as we know, it's not like a conventional job where everything's guaranteed. We've got to graft. So where did you find the courage from to even pursue it? Because it's one thing to love acting, but then it's another thing entirely to try and make it a career.
Oh, that's such an interesting question, actually. Do you know what? In the first place, it wasn't the courage that I found. It actually took me a long time to get to the point of courage. And I totally agree with you that for me, that is the thing that makes any actor is bravery. But in the first instance, it actually wasn't courage, I think, that spurred me on. It was the fear of not having it. Yeah, like before I had the courage, I just had the deficit of the courage, which was the fear of doing something else. You know, I'd had so many brothers that I'd watched them all grow up and sell their soul for a mortgage and for a nice car. And, you know, we come from absolutely nothing. My parents are immigrants and they moved to this country with 4 kids and 4 black bin bags. Like, in a way, there was absolutely nothing to lose, even though you're right, it does take time, energy, money, all these things to make an acting career in the long run. But it was like, I didn't have those things to lose. Those things were going to come and go anyway. And at the point where I decided this is going to be my career, I had the foresight to know that. And eventually, over time, the bravery came, the bravery and the audacity to go, screw this. I am fully committed to this. Nobody knows my name. Nobody knows who I am. But even so, I call myself an actor. This is my dream. This is my life. Yeah, so I think in the first place, it was actually the absence of bravery, if that makes any sense at all.
That makes absolute sense. I got goosebumps listening to that because that's such a similar mindset to what I have, which, by the way, my family come from Irish heritage as well. So I'm like, oh, we've got another little connection here. I think you probably know that I was brought up on a council estate, and people ask me, like, how have you gone on to run your own business and blah, 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 you know, you're from a council estate. And I have a very similar mindset to you, which is, well, if you start at the bottom, you've got nothing to lose. You can only go up. So
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's actually always pulled me towards you as well, professionally as well as personally. You know, as soon as we met and as soon as I'd started working with you for a while and I heard about your story, you were just such an inspiration to me because I was like, you know, this person comes from where I come from and they've done it. So why the hell can't I do it?
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Hon, for being my inspiration.
Oh, you inspire me so much as well. Like, I'm so inspired. Like, I love coming to see you in shows because I get like this massive boost of inspiration. I'm like, oh gosh, he's just so good.
Oh, thank you.
So let's go back a little bit then. So you had this mindset very similar to mine, like the absence of it is the thing that drove you. So we did start working together right at the very beginning of your journey. And I remember, if I'm like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, were you working at Butlins at that time? Is that right? Or you were doing a rehearsal job?
Yeah, not so long before that, I'd been doing a Butlin style job at an independent holiday park. Other holiday parks are available.
You're allowed to say it on this podcast.
Yeah, and it was in Cornwall, and I'd been there for 3 years doing that, and I dredged back up north. And yeah, that was at the point I came to you, yeah.
Okay, so I want to pick up on this again because I think this really feeds into mindset as well. You didn't know me from Adam, yet you emailed me, and I still remember that email that you sent. And I remember exactly what you said, and I remember replying back to you saying, yeah, we can definitely get you confident to get you into drama school because that was your goal. I don't know why I remember this email. Like, I get loads of emails, and yet I remember yours. It's so weird. Anyway, so you came to me for one-to-one sessions, which, by the way, are not cheap. So you didn't know me, and yet you were willing to put your money into this woman that you'd never met in your life. Again, I just want to go back to this thing that a lot of actors have around, like, money blocks that they've got. Why were you so willing to put your money into someone that you didn't know? And also, well, it could have been anyone really. It didn't just have to be me. It could have been anyone having one-on-one sessions.
To be honest, it was like I'd come back from down there doing that job, which, you know, was lovely at first, but got to the point where it really stopped fulfilling me. And I'd moved back up here, and I was working night shifts in a call centre, and I really wanted something more. I really wanted my acting to become a career, and I had no idea how that was going to work. I just knew that drama school was one potential route, and so I kind of, you know, Googled acting coaches, Sheffield type thing, and came across you, and instantly I knew you were the one for me because of the method acting. Now, I didn't even fully understand what method acting was, you know, but what I did know was that my favourite actors were method actors.
Yes.
So I'd seen that you did method acting, so I was like, this is the stars aligning. And I was so happy and willing to spend that money on one-on-ones. To be honest, never batted an eyelid that it was something I couldn't afford. I just very much knew that I was going to make myself afford it, because that was going to give me the key to one day making that dream a reality. And it absolutely did. Like, you know, I came to you very much wanting to get into drama school and having no idea how to get there, no idea how to act really, no idea how to be confident about that. And well, we got there, didn't we? So
yes, we did. I always knew you would get into drama school, and I think I told you that.
You did, yeah, from very early on. And, you know, I really appreciated what I loved about our sessions at that point is not only was I learning how to act or learning how to get in touch with myself in a way that allowed me to build a character, you also spurred me on personally. And to anybody who's thinking about having a one-to-one or joining any of your courses, but they have doubts about the money or whether they can make it work, my advice would be, if you want it, you will make it work. And believe me, every penny that I spent with you was an investment. Like, it's come back tenfold. I'm now a professional actor who does it for a living. And, you know, yeah, I might not be winning my third Oscar this week, but
you'll get there.
Yeah, but I'm not working in that call centre. I'm not working on holiday parks. I am acting for a living, and I am truly living the dream. So it's an investment. To anybody who's scared of spending money, it's an investment.
Yeah, I love that you've said that, because I always talk about return on investments, but I know that that's business language. It's not creative language. It's not acting language. And so I am fully here for your story of, like, I just knew it was going to happen. And what I'm hearing from what you've said is, like, that money being spent has actually opened so many doors for you, and it's brought you happiness, that joy that you had as a little boy when you were doing all these shows. It's just brought you so much more than maybe you could have even imagined. I mean, would you have imagined that right now we would be talking about this play that you're going to be in London very soon when you first got started?
No, God, no. Like, you know, it's such an abstract idea or at least when I came to it in the first place, of what a life as an actor actually is. But now, you know, there's this show, and God, it really is just living the dream. Like, building this character has brought me such joy and such freedom and just put me in touch with myself so much. And it's like, who'd have thought, a few years ago when I came to you, that I'd be in a position where I'm like, I get a script, I know exactly what to do, I know exactly where I want to begin. And that's not to say I have it all figured out, because I don't, by any stretch of the imagination, like, acting is, in fact, you said this to me in one of our first sessions, and it's so true, that acting is one of those jobs where you will never know it all. There will always be more to learn. And it's so true, because it's just, at the end of the day, it's the study of the human condition. And, who knows everything there is to know about being a human?
Exactly. And we are humans and we have no idea. I love that.
Exactly.
Let's go back to your drama school days. And so you got into drama school, you got a scholarship, which was so exciting. I was so proud of you. Now at drama school, obviously I've been down the drama school route myself as well. It's a really safe container, isn't it? There's lots of exploring, there's lots of creativity. We're always singing, dancing, acting, the things that we love. But then when you come out of drama school, it's like that bubble bursts and it is like, whoa, reality, hello world. How was that for you, going from 3 years of nonstop creativity to then being like thrown out on the streets of the world?
You know what? It was a mixed bag. I say a mixed bag because, again, it's a mindset thing. On the one hand, it was incredible. I came out of drama school with the mentality of, I swear on this podcast.
Of course you are, yeah.
Oh, fab. I am gonna fucking smash this. I don't know where I go from here, but I know it's going to be interesting. And I moved in with friends, which was an amazing thing to do. Friends that I went to drama school with, because that just kept me in that bubble to some degree. You're right, it totally did burst, but at least I had that support network of these people who were at the same point of wanting to make this a reality. But on the other hand, what I really struggled with coming out of drama school was having that mat ripped from under my feet of, you get to be creative and you get to build a character every day, and you don't have to worry about paying your rent because you're on a scholarship, whereas then I left and I had to pay bills, do all that other stuff that goes alongside being an actor. And also the other side of being an actor, which I don't think gets the airtime it should. And again, this is one thing you're very good for and very honest with your students about, is that there is a business side to being an actor. There's a whole business side to the industry, and that side of it knocked me at first coming out of drama school, even though I'd certainly been introduced to it before, or the idea of it. But I found myself focusing on that side a lot in terms of emailing people, trying to get out to network with people, get to press nights or whatever it is. And I found that actually my creative side took a dip, was neglected a bit because of that. I didn't have much balance there. That's what I struggled with coming out of drama school.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I wasn't taught anything about business when I went to drama school. We were just told, don't wait by the phone. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I know I've got to be proactive, but tell me a bit more than that, please. So I just, for myself personally, what I did is probably what all other actors do, is just join loads of casting sites and apply for castings every single day, as many as I could. But then a few years down the line, I started investing in business, and I spent thousands and thousands of pounds to learn about business and marketing. And actually, there is a little formula that you can use, so it's interesting as well that you said that your creative side dipped, because I personally, we're both creatives, we're both spiritual, we're both Geminis. We talk about this. Geminis like very creative, very chatty. Oh, by the way, did you know the perfect job for a Gemini is an actor?
No, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that just makes sense. That's us all over.
Definitely. It was one of my spiritual friends who told me. I was like, oh my God, how exciting. Anyway, what was that? I've just gone off on a complete tangent. So yeah, the perfect job for an actor. I mean, not for an actor, for a Gemini is an actor.
Do you know what? That doesn't surprise me at all. And that explains why we're both here.
Yes, it does. So any other Geminis, come and join our little club.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say about the business side is I've had to really reframe this and see marketing as something creative as well. So I still feel like I'm getting that creative, I don't know what the word is, like those creative vibes, those creative juices rolling. Otherwise, I won't market because I do find it a bit of a chore. I'm not going to lie.
Honey, this is why you do what you do. You are an innovator. And do you know what? You've literally just said that, and something's unlocked in my brain because I've got a lot better at that side of it, but I've never thought about looking at it as a creative thing. That's interesting. So, how would you even approach that?
Well, when I feel like my creative juices are running low, I go, okay, well, I've got to create content as an actor. And it might not necessarily be creating a character, which is what I love doing, but I'm still having to explore the human condition because I still have to get someone to buy into me. So what are their pain points, which is the whole marketing thing? What are their pain points? What are their struggles? Okay, how do I make that desirable to them? What do I create that brings them into my world and makes them go, oh, Louise is an actress. I'm interested in her the same way you would with a character, but just in a different medium. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. And now you've said that, I'm like, well, yeah, social media. It's the biggest storytelling platform in the world right now, really, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
everybody's telling stories on there.
Exactly, and we go on there to be entertained. So how can I, as an actor, entertain my audience? And how can I, if I apply for something and then a casting director's like, oh, I'm not quite sure about this woman, I don't know her. Let's just Google her. Well, obviously, social media is going to come up. What's she been doing? And am I entertaining people or am I not? Like, what's the story that I'm telling of my brand? That's how I always try and think about it.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And I think you do that really well, by the way. But also, my agent is amazing at branding, I think.
Oh, I
And
follow her on Twitter. I love her tweets.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I think she's so good at doing just this, at like branding herself, but in a very authentic way. But it's interesting and it is creative. And I was having a meeting with her last week, and I was actually saying to her social media and the social media of the agency is just branded so well in a really creative way. And I was saying, actually, that's what I want for me personally as an actor, my own brand. But it's scary to say to yourself as an actor, I think, what is your brand? What is your USP? But it's also like it's those things that you need to know from the off, kind of.
Absolutely. But you know what? Like, I don't get scared about branding anymore because I know a brand, like a character, can always evolve. Just because I say one thing doesn't mean it has to stick.
This is why you're paid the big bucks. That is good. That is so. That's it. It's what stops me from getting a really good brand is my inner perfectionist going, no, if it's not perfect, better not to try at all. And well, I know from other experiences and other areas of my life where I've overcome that inner perfectionist that that's just not the right attitude to have, is it?
Well, no, because perfectionism does not exist in art. How can it? Because we're trying to attain or reach, sorry, a standard that's unattainable. Because the inner perfectionist will then say, no, that's not good enough, and we'll never reach that standard.
1,000%. And it comes back to that bravery thing as well, because then it takes bravery to really go somewhere and know that it's not going to be perfect. And to do that in front of other people when your instrument is yourself, like it's bravery because there's a chance that you will fail. And this is like where I have evolved my mindset more is like when it comes towards that aspect of art making is like I'm not as can I say I'm 100% resistant to failure? No, but I'm so much closer than I used to be because now I'm like I crave failure now. I crave doing something really fucking bold and daring and it all falling to shit and just going completely wrong, and me being left there vulnerable in the middle of a room, because then I'm like, right, now we've got that out of the way. What's worse than that can happen? Now I can just do anything. Now I can go with my impulses. Now I can do this or that and fail and be absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm here for that all day long. And you know what? I know a lot of people who are drawn to method love film and TV, and that's what they want to go into. And obviously I will support and encourage anybody who wants to do that. But I also try and encourage my students to do stage work as well, because for me, stage is dangerous. There's something about it where everything could go wrong and you are vulnerable and you're left by yourself. But they're the moments that I feel like I've got a bit of an unhealthy obsession for, because I kind of crave those moments, because that's when you know you're really alive and it's like, fuck, what do I do in this moment?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like I've always had a pull towards theatre, and I think it goes back to, live theatre being the thing that got me into acting in the first place, but also it's just that aliveness of it that I love. And the stakes are just so raised, because the people in front of you watching you have paid their hard-earned money that they go and slog their 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, so that you can come and make them forget for 2 hours or make them whatever it is. And there's always the chance that you could just get it terribly wrong. And that's so exciting. I love it.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, is it wrong though? Or is it that this is just a new experience that this audience is seeing? Because I always say to my students, I'm like, listen, stop worrying about lines. I do encourage them to learn their lines verbatim, because I feel we should respect the writer. And I always say, like, listen, we're not writers. Let's leave that to them. We're actors. But at the same time, don't give yourself a hard time, because no audience member is sat there with the script going, oh, this should be happening right now. They don't know what's about to happen.
Totally, that's it. I just finished a tour on Friday that's and it was a kids show, a children's theatre show, and in that it's very pantomimic almost in its form, and you know, you're playing 10,000 different characters, and the lines are very choppy. And at first, you know, when we first were in the rehearsal room, it was taking a long time to get the cues in, because it's so cuey. But it got to a certain point where we were like, well, do you know what? If this materializes on the night, if it doesn't matter, because the audience don't know the script. And so long as we stay in it, so long as we carry on, so long as we don't let that cause us to fall apart or come out of character or whatever, then there's absolutely no issue. And they're the moments you're looking for as an actor. Well, me anyway, because it's like, I love being opposite an actor in front of an audience where they drop their line, because you see that little bit of panic in their eyes and you think, now you're present, now something interesting is going to happen.
Yes. I'm here for this all day long, because it's so easy to get sucked into a rhythm and a routine and become mechanical with performances.
Yes, totally. It's that. Stanislavski says it actually. He says that a bad way of an actor expressing their emotions is actually what most actors do, or at least what most actors do when they're first starting out, which is just a robotic, I think he uses the word mechanic retelling of words. So there's no feeling, no emotion. It's just, you know, those words. And to get to the point where you start injecting emotion or start connecting, as well as 1,000 other things, I think one of the main things is you have to allow yourself to be really present, to really listen. That's a scary thing to do at first, but once you've done it, you then struggle to go back to not listening because of everything it offers you as an actor.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think actors are some of the best listeners. I remember when I first came out of drama school, I was like, right, I'm going to be proactive. I had this sales job, which, oh my God, like I didn't even get paid a basic wage for it. I only earned money if I sold things. I was on commission only. But I feel like I thrive in these kind of environments where there's a lot at stake. So I was like, right, I'm setting up a theatre company. This is when I lived in Manchester. We put on a show. I was like, it's fine. I'll fund it. I don't mind. That just means I'll have to go and earn more sales, which was cool. And then because I worked in sales, I was like, right, we need to get people into this show. So how do we do that? Right, we're going to go outside theatres. I can't remember what the theatres are called in Manchester, but yeah, we went outside them and I was like, we're going to pitch the audiences that are going in to see whatever show they're going in to see. So I started pitching this one woman and she was so present with me. She was really taking in everything. She was listening to everything. I was like, oh my God, like she's really interested. So then I was like, thriving off of that, like, oh, our show, blah, 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 telling her all about it. Then I went back to my friends and they're like, Lou, would you know who that was? I'm like, I have no idea. Who was it? Like, that's Maxine Peake. I was like, what? I've just pitched Maxine Peake. Are you joking me? She's like the most fabulous actress ever.
Oh my days. Did she come to the show?
No, she didn't, but I don't care about that. But she was so present with me. And I've noticed whenever I have conversations with my friends who are not actors, you can tell when they're not present because you can see their mind fluttering everywhere. But you're right. Like once you learn how to listen, you can't then not listen.
Totally, yeah.
And you can practice this day-to-day life, can't you?
Yeah, you really can. I think this is the wonderful thing about being an actor is you start to understand how you behave in your or how people behave in your everyday life. And then you start to realize, God, we're incredibly disconnected and out of touch with our bodies and not present, not really listening. And being an actor, it allows you to introduce all those things back into your life, all those things that society rips away from you, I think, at the earliest possible point. I think being an actor lets you get back in touch with yourself, because I'm probably a huge skeptic when it comes to this, but I think capitalism and the society we live in, you know, from very early on as a child, I think its aim is to make you lose touch with yourself, to lose touch with your body, to have insecurities, to not listen to people, to not follow your dreams. And I think being an actor is just holding up a middle finger to all of that and being like, well, thanks for the advice, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh my God, Patrick, we could go down so many rabbit holes with this. I agree with everything you're saying. And there's two strands I want to come at really. But by the way, we do need to talk about your show as well and your character. Like we'll get onto that. Yeah. The first thing is capitalism absolutely makes us get short-term joy from buying things, which I don't feel it's not sustainable. That's why the world is so fucked up in my mind. One of the reasons anyway. The other strand is I genuinely believe that as actors, we should always be in the process of self-developing and healing because it's only when we can understand ourselves truly that we can understand characters. So that's one part, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And then the second part is I wanted to know if you've got a mission with your acting. I have a mission, and it's the thing, because now you're talking about this, I can see your passion. I can see how much joy acting brings to you, and I can see that this is your purpose in life. Like it's just, I know it's just oozing out of you. My mission with my acting is to change the world one audience member at a time. So I wondered, do you have a mission with your acting? And that's what keeps me driven because I know the mission is bigger than me. Like my love is in there for acting, but then it serves a purpose as well. And also, I'd love to get your thoughts on the healing stuff as well.
Yeah, that's everything you just said is so interesting. In terms of the mission, I absolutely love your mission. I just think that's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I'd probably say that mine's something very similar. It is, you know, the kind of work I've done and the kind of work I want to do, a lot of it serves a bigger purpose. You know, it's very rare that you're ever telling a story that has absolutely no point. And usually if you are, there's usually a point to it having no point. So even then there's some sort of, but for me, I really want to, first of all, I want to feel what it feels like to be fulfilled. I don't know if I've ever felt that. And I think from what I've deduced in life, this is the closest I've ever come. And I feel like one day I might even get to feeling fulfillment.
How exciting.
So that's like a first part of my mission. But yeah, the second part is to change minds and open hearts and to show people that, you know, we, no matter what their preconceived idea is, they're probably wrong, because we're all probably wrong about most things. And I think the moment we truly connect as people is when we all start to accept how vulnerable and weak and feeble and stupid we are, and allow that ego to drift away.
I love this.
I think acting's a great way to do that.
I do. I honestly think acting can save the world. I know it sounds very dramatic, but I genuinely believe it. I believe there's so many unhealed people out there. And like for me, if I do a performance and somebody comes up to me and they're not like, oh, the set was amazing, or how did you learn the line? If they're asking me those questions, I've not done my job. How did you learn all those lines? Well, you've not been present with my performance, and because I've not been present. But if they're saying to me, oh my God, wow, you moved me, you touched me, you had me in tears, or nearly had me in tears, then I'm like, okay, now I'm on the way to doing my job.
Yes.
And that's how I at least try and change the world, one audience member at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's so good, and it's so aligned with what I believe as well. And yeah, that healing thing is so interesting, because I think as an actor, first of all, and you'll know more about this than me, but Lee Strasberg says something along the lines of, the person you are off stage is the person you are on stage.
Yeah.
And that philosophy is so true, because, you know, when previous iterations of me that were not as healed, and don't get me wrong, you know, that's still very much an ongoing journey, but in the past where I've had even more emotional blocks and baggage and stuff that I'm carrying on stage, well, you can see that, and I can feel it as an actor, because, oh, my iPad's doing an auto zoom. I didn't touch it. But
that was so dramatic for that moment.
Well, get zoom back in on my face. I mean, your listeners can't see this, but believe me, my iPad's doing some weird zoom thing.
It's
I'm
amazing.
here for it though. But yeah, you know, you go on stage with 10,000 blocks, and your character goes on stage with 10,000 blocks, and when it gets to the emotional peak, you can't get there because you're blocked. You can't. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be brave, and you can't be brave and vulnerable if you are incredibly blocked. So I totally agree. But then on the note of the audience's healing, you know, there's that cliche thing that people in this industry always say, where they're like, we're not curing cancer. I'm like, yes, we fucking are. And if you're not, then don't diminish what I'm doing with my art, because I am. And I believe in the power of art and storytelling, and I believe it gives meaning to life. And I'm like, without what we're doing, what is the point in living? If there was no art, if there was no storytelling, then why would you have a purpose for living? So don't diminish what we're doing here by saying that shit. Like,
and this all goes back to what you were saying in the beginning about courage. I own what my mission is, and I don't care what anybody else thinks about that, because I know it's true for me. You own your mission with acting, you own what you're doing, but it takes courage. It takes courage to do that. And I believe we do all start acting because we love it. Maybe for some other people, there's different reasons as well. Like I certainly know that when I first started, I was getting bullied really badly at school, and it allowed me to express myself through another character, because nobody could bully that, because there was a part of me in that character, but through a character.
Yeah.
So we start for all lots of different reasons, and then it sort of like branches out into something bigger, with the foundation and the roots always being the joy and the love for it. So let's get onto your character then in Toxic. Who is this person that you're playing?
Well, he's called Andy Parks. He's a 35-year-old gay man who has just split up with his husband. They got married, and it was a relatively long-term relationship. And at the point we meet Andy, he's actually at rock bottom, because this breakup is not what he wanted. And he finds himself for the first time in his life really alone. And that was his biggest fear all along, I think. So, yeah, that's who he is. He's a chartered surveyor, which is an incredibly boring job to him, but he does it because he never found that thing we were just talking about. He never found that bravery to pursue what he really wanted to do.
Wow, what a challenging character. What an interesting one. Already, like, there's so many ways in which I relate to this character. I'm like, oh God, I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, and me. And you know what I did from the off? And for this role, they auditioned something crazy, like 600 people. I know. I mean, forgive me, Dan, the writer, and Connor, the producer and director, if I've got that wrong. But it was something like that they auditioned for this role, and I got it. But I think I got it because I connected to him from the off, and I wasn't scared to show that connection.
Oh my God, and I'm so excited now, because our listeners don't know actually that you've come back to do one-on-one work with me for me to you already know the character, but just for me to guide you with it. I'm so excited about this. I feel like this was your role. It was meant to be.
Yeah, totally. I feel it too. And I'm so excited to work with you again on this character. And do you know what? It's been just ages ago. I was like, I knew that it was going to be right to, and it feels like coming home, coming back to you. It really does. But now it's really interesting because things are in such a different place. But this character is, it's just everything. And I just get to do it in London, and I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you. Like, I've already, my brain is whizzing like, right, what exercises are we going to do? I can't wait to do them. And what I want to ask you then is what's been your process so far? I know you're quite early in the rehearsal process, but what has been your process so far for connecting to this character, starting to find who they are, find their essence?
Well, first thing always for me is the script analysis. That's always my first port of call on this journey of connecting, and that actually comes from my time with you.
Oh wow!
To be honest, so yeah, and in terms of that script analysis, it's really understanding who Andy is, because it's all well and good me having these, sound bites where I'm like, that's very similar to me, that's very similar to me. But of course, Andy is his own person too. And it's basically me being a detective so far, going through that script and looking for the clues as to who he is, what he believes, what he wants, what he hopes for, who he is when he is alone versus who he is when he's with other people.
Oh my God, I love this, Patrick. We're going to do the private moment exercise together. Well, not together, you'll be doing it.
Yay!
Do you know that exercise?
Yeah. Is it the Stella Utahagen exercise? Am I right?
I don't know if they might have done it as well, but I know it from Lee Strasberg. Not that I knew Lee Strasberg.
Oh yeah, go on.
So it's an exercise where you are the character completely by yourself. So we start off with sense memory. We're going to create the environment that they're in. And it's really to get you to lose your inhibitions and lose yourself in this person. And you have to do something that they do when they're on their own that they would never want anybody to see, ever, 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 because they would be so embarrassed. I love this exercise so much because it allows you to strip them away from the script and start to find the human in them. So, for example, like, because I live with my cats, obviously, I obviously have a little cat voice that I talk to them in. And I baby them. Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I baby them so much like they're my little babies. If anybody saw me doing that, I would be mortified. So that's the kind of thing. It's to find out like who they are when they're really vulnerable and stripped of everything.
I love that. Yeah. That's so exciting. Well, it's exactly that I'm trying to find out and, get to with my detective work, because it's that thing as well of, and in this play, Andy spends so much time in his own flat with no one else there. And it's that other Lee Strasberg thing of being private in public.
Yeah.
Finding exactly who they are with no one watching, but at the same time, there's 300 people watching. So
it's going to be exciting to find all those vulnerable moments and those moments where he's vulnerable but hiding it as well.
Yeah, totally. And that's Oh my God, Andy has so many defense mechanisms. He is so emotionally blocked for a lot of this play. And I mean, I get it. He's literally at rock bottom. I mean, I don't want to give spoilers to any of the audience who might come and see it, which you all should, by the way. It's on the 2nd till the 6th of May, I think, at the Golden Goose Theatre in London. But
we're going to link it, by the way. I'll get the link from you and we'll pop it in the description.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. But yeah, he attempts suicide. Like, he really gets to the bottom of things, and it comes from, I think, at least one of the places that gets him there is having no self-value. He puts all of his meaning and value onto his husband, his partner, so that when that person leaves him, he feels absolutely inadequate, absolutely worthless. And that's such a good story to tell, I think, because so many of us have been there or are there or are going through it, or will go through it at some point. It's such a common narrative, I think.
Oh my God, it is. Having been through my own heartbreak journey and having to do a lot of healing work through this, I fully know this. And I didn't realise just how many people do place their value and their worth on other people. So this is like going back to that human condition. This is a universal thing that humans around the world experience. And maybe not heartbreak just in, a romantic sense. You can experience heartbreak through any kind of loss, friendships, whatever. So it's universal. So it's so exciting that you are playing this character. Talk to me about the audition process then, because I think our listeners would be really interested to understand. I think what's at the bottom of this really is, firstly, your joy for acting, your passion. Secondly, the courage to pursue it. Thirdly, the training, you've got to train. And fourth, understanding yourself so you can dig deep into the human condition. So how does all of that get combined into the audition process? Or does it not? Like, what do you do?
Well, the audition process for this, it was actually about 2.5 years ago that I got cast in this role.
That's crazy.
Yes. So this play actually, it had a previous iteration at Manchester Fringe Festival about 2 years ago now. I can't even remember. Yeah, 2021. That's right. And it went down. The production company who it's with, that was their fledgling thing. That was the first thing they did. Now they're doing some absolutely fab stuff, which is another thing. Remember who you are meeting on the way up.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, definitely.
And utilise those contacts, and don't just view people for where they are. Like, really take a look at them and think about where they can go and where they can help you go.
And build genuine relationships. Like, don't just go into things. Sorry to jump in here. I'm having a little brain flutter again.
That's all right.
But yeah, like, really, I'm all about authenticity. That's one of my biggest values in life. I remember when I did A Midsummer Night's Dream years ago, which eventually went out to Dubai, and that's where we performed it. And it had so much press around it. The two girls who were playing Hermia and Helena, I don't know what the story was, and it's not for me to go into anyway, even if I did, but they ended up not playing those roles. And myself and someone else that I trained with at drama school got cast in those roles. And the director's wife came up to me and said, what I really liked about you and this other actress is that you didn't go straight for Jonathan because you knew he was the director. You actually spoke to me as well, and you built a genuine relationship with us. And that has always stuck with me, that you've got to be authentic. Don't just arse lick, is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000. And that actually would be my answer to the audition question. Like, I think what I brought to the audition process that gave me the edge over everybody else that went for that role is I mean, I didn't see their auditions, but from conversations I've had with the director and stuff, like, I brought a certain authenticity into the room, and that's really helped me at all stages of my career. I think build relationships is just being myself. I mean, this industry gets you to meet in all kinds of crazy, amazing people that you probably never thought in a million years you'd meet. And I have a few friends who are uber successful people that the world doesn't even know I'm friends with, really, because I never exploit that relationship, or I'm never like, guess who was around at 9 on Friday for a curry? Or, do you know what I mean? They're people I've met in this industry, but people that I've bonded with because I really like them as people. And we've built relationships on that, not on the fact of, okay, maybe you know people that could get me a job. And don't get me wrong, part of your mind has to be there. It's that business side of it, that networking side of it. But if you can go to a place and build an authentic relationship over just some vague ass networking, then you're always going to be onto a winner, because this industry is not what you know, is it? It's who you know at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So you want to make those good impressions.
So obviously when you go into the audition process, you are aiming to be authentic as yourself, and when you're presenting the piece as well that you're asked to present, what does the preparation for the audition process look like for you?
Is this in general audition process, or is this specifically for Toxic?
Should we talk specifically about Toxic, because that's what we're here to talk about?
Yeah, true. Well, they sent over an excerpt of a monologue that Andy has to prepare for that audition. And for me, it's basically doing everything I'd do when I get the script, if I got the role. Obviously, you don't have a full script to do it on. You've just got a scene, or a bit of a scene, but all the work is the same. You know, I'm still looking for what makes me really feel connected to the character in terms of what are our similarities. And then I'm also looking for the bridges that I've got a gap by finding what's different about him, trying to understand what his thought process is, so that when I'm going through this monologue, every time there's a full stop or a comma, I can decide a genuine thought that bridges those two words either side of that, but not from my process of thinking, from his process of thinking. And I can only get to understand his process of thinking by doing all of that stuff, the uniting, the giving the actions, whatever it is. All that stuff really helps me. The paperwork, the sit down and let's be a detective, and then it's getting it on its feet before you're in that audition room. And with Andy, it was easy, because it was very apparent very early on that actually the most effective way to deliver this monologue, or the most truthful way to Andy with that point in the play and what he was saying, is actually just sitting the hell down and talking to the audience, even though the audience is, you know, the director, the producer, the writer. Even though it's a scary audience, because you're also wanting to get that job, actually, you don't even think about that if you allow that character to infect you and just sit down and have a conversation with them. And that's what I did. And I got a recall. They had a recall stage, and then got it. And you know what? It's one of those weird things. I always find that the auditions I don't worry about, and that I go in and just do the work, they're the ones I get.
Yeah, because there's no mental tension there, and it's you as an actor presenting your art. And making bold choices, which is what I feel like. Even it's interesting, because I've just done a podcast about monologues where I've said don't just default to sitting down just because you don't know what you're doing. But you just sitting down and talking, for me, is a bold choice, because it can be justified. It's come from somewhere. I love everything that you've said there, because there's a lot of actors who don't like the script analysis because it's boring. We just want to bypass all that and jump up and get it straight on its feet. But it's essential work, isn't it? It's the nourishment that character needs to find that life in it.
Totally. And I think I totally get why people think it's boring. But I would say, as somebody who used to find it boring myself and doesn't anymore, that if you're finding it boring, you're doing it wrong. It's supposed to be interesting, and it's supposed to be fun. And don't get me wrong, it won't be straight away. While you're learning how to do it, you know, that's difficult. You need to learn, first of all. But once you've learned, if you're getting there and it's still boring, you need to look at why you're doing it, because you can't just be doing it to go through the motions, because you're just wasting your own time there.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to pull something out of it. And when you do, that's exciting. It's fun. It's worth all those hours of mining and whatever you do. And yeah, I totally agree. I saw it at drama school. So many actors just dismissed all of that from their toolbox straight away, just because they thought the idea of it was boring. But then you see it reflected in the work. You see that there's no moment of inspiration and genius. And I forget who said it now, but somebody.
I'm going to jump in because it's Uta Hagen.
Is it Uta Hagen?
I think I know what you're going to say. Yeah, go on.
Says that 1,000 hours of research is worth one inspired moment.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that. Well, I think it's all tedious research is worth one inspired moment, but it means the same thing anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
How weird. I knew he was going to say that. So what, I think because a lot of our listeners are right at the very early stages of their career, like some are just in the thought process of, right, I know I'm going to do this and I need to tell people and I'm going to have to start investing in training, blah, blah, blah. Others are a little bit further down the line. But what does the rehearsal process look like for professional theatre so our audience can understand it a bit more?
Well, with professional theatre, it's always about getting in the room. And, you know, with Toxic, we had, in the first iteration, when it was at Manchester Fringe, we had a yoga studio that was it was really lovely, but it was a yoga studio nonetheless. And this is why I love the creative team behind this project. They are grafters and, you know, they're prepared to make it work. And it's not all airs and graces all of the time on your way up, because having seen a rehearsal process at the Royal Shakespeare Company,
oh wow,
you know, which was amazing, but the other end of the scale where you've got 9 weeks on a project and you've got huge rehearsal spaces, you've got a voice team that will come in and work with you, you've got all these people at your disposal. The other end of the scale, Fringe theatre, like this was in its first iteration, is actually a lot more pressured because you don't get all of the luxuries. You have to get the same results, but without the luxuries of a vocal coach or 9 weeks in a rehearsal room. But everything aside from that is the exact same, I think. The work you do in those rooms is the exact same. And it looks like you turning up prepared to a room, and then the director taking charge. And the director is, in theatre, is very much the captain of the ship and dictates where we go, how much time we spend on what we're trying to pull out of each scene. And it's a collaboration as well. It's not just them sat there telling you this. It's, they may be the captain of the ship, so to speak, because they're trying to get everything cohesive, but that doesn't mean that they are making every decision, because, you know, there's so much compromise in it, because they'll want one thing and then you are the person who knows your character. So you have to almost be like a lawyer in a rehearsal room sometimes, in terms of justifying why your character does what they do. And that's why the research is so important. One of the reasons is because you have to turn up to that rehearsal room like a lawyer, because if you know that your character needs something that is non-negotiable, that if the director then comes and tries to negotiate that and you know it can't be negotiated, well, you have to back that up. You have to justify that. And if you don't, you're not doing your character the service it needs. You're allowing your character to be moulded by external factors.
Yeah, and that's what I call puppet acting. It's where you don't go in with choices. It can be scary. It can be scary advocating for your character, especially if you're not very experienced. But it serves the bigger picture. And I love that word collaboration that you've used, because it is a collaboration. The director is like seeing the bird's eye view of it all, and you're bringing in those little intricacies, as are the other actors. And that's how you get it to be cohesive. So Is there ever a point in rehearsals, Patrick, where obviously you're so early in the rehearsal process for Toxic right now, but with other stage plays or even films or TV or whatever, where mind you, there's not that much rehearsal for TV and film, is there? So is there ever a point where you start to feel very, very blocked and feel like, my God, I'm actually very disconnected to this character and I don't know what I'm doing? And if you do ever get to that stage, how do you overcome that?
Oh my God, yes, all the time I feel that. Well, I say all the time, less so actually, the more I do it. But still a lot, at least once in every process, I'd say. But even with Toxic, like this is actually the third iteration of Toxic now, because we did the one at Manchester Fringe Festival, and then we did last year. It got brought back right at the end of the year for Warrington Arts Festival, and they kind of got some funding to put it on there and do a little shindig there, so we did. And in that one, the second one, we only did a 15-minute excerpt, so we didn't have loads of rehearsal time and whatever. And I found it so there that I was blocked with this character, because I got into the rehearsal room and it was like, the way I describe it is, it was like seeing your ex in the street. It was this character that I used to be really familiar with that character, and once upon a time, I knew that character inside out. And now I'm back with this character, and it's been a year and a bit, and they've changed, I've changed. All of a sudden, it feels sticky. And I remember being in that rehearsal room being like, I don't know what to do. It's not coming. There's a blockage. I don't know where it is. I'm a bit panicked because we didn't have loads of time. And the reason I love Toxic is the creative team is just second to none. And it was the director that helped me through that one. He was like, forget everything we've done, forget everything we've said about this character and this scene, and we'll go again and just allow yourself to be in the scene. That's it. And then I got through that blockage. It was amazing, because even though that sounds so simple, what I did when I actually allowed myself to do that was get rid of that mental tension. I figured out in that moment, right, I'm putting loads of pressure on myself to get it right, and I'm panicked because we don't have much time. So I'm actually thinking about a finished product rather than creating something organic in this room right now.
I love that story, because I feel like so many, even those actors who have not got very much experience, they will understand that, because that pressure is there. I think that pressure plays a big part in all aspects of an acting career, whether it be, right, I've decided I'm going to be an actor and now my parents don't really support this, so there's pressure on me to prove to them that it can work. So I'm thinking about the end product of like, how many jobs can I get now quickly? Or like you've just said, in the rehearsal process, or even in the audition process, or even just for yourself, if you feel like you've got something to prove to yourself. And it just goes back to being present, doesn't it? Like getting rid of everything, getting rid of that perfectionist mindset, and just being present and going, okay, what's happening in this moment right now? What do I respond to?
Yeah, actually. And I did this acting exercise the other week. Sorry, this is a tiny tangent, but just from what you were saying there, that was actually so useful to me and actually brought out a really strong performance. And it was something I never thought would work for me. But the exercise was to say the lines in a scene with no subtext, to play no subtext, and there's no extra thought or context beyond what you say on the line. And what it allowed me to do was get out of my head and really feel on the line. And don't get me wrong, after that point, then I, have to go back and put all that context and subtext in. But it was perfect in bridging that gap and getting me out of my own head. And yeah, especially I think when you're at the start of your career, you're even more in your own head because all this stuff takes time and experience. But I'd say to anybody who is there to just say fuck it and just do it, and know that it's going to be terrible and know that it's going to be abysmal, but it has to be. Every good artist has to be a bad artist first, and that's just how it works. So you just need to get on with being a bad artist.
Yeah, I so agree with that, because when you do that, there's a liberation in it. It's like,
totally.
now I can free myself from my inhibitions and all these expectations I'm putting on myself. Okay, so how many shows a day are you going to be doing of Toxic? Is it just one show a day, and how many shows in the total run?
It's just one show a day, yeah, 7:30 every night. So in the run, there's going to be 8, I think, in total, 6 or 8. But that's the other thing I love about theatre. You know, on camera, it's the final take you get once. You know, I get to go through Andy's story loads of times, and at least 6 or 8 times of those are going to be in front of an audience. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah, and you know the thing about film, although I do love film, I love screen work as well. There's a different danger to it than theatre, but you're not in control of the final performance. It's the editor that is. Whereas in theatre you are. So what I want to ask you then is, you know, whether you do it 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, or 600 times, how do you keep that performance fresh?
Well, I approach it every night. You know, I've done mainly theatre since drama school, so it's something feel like I've started to refine really well. But it's just approaching every night as the first time this has happened, because to the character it is. So and the most effective way for me is just allowing myself to be present, and that for me means getting rid of my ego. If I felt like I knocked it out of the park last night, or if I felt like it was fucking shit last night, regardless of what I feel about it, you know, I have to let that go before I step onto that stage the next night. Otherwise, we might as well just all come round to my flat and everybody watch me masturbate. Am I allowed to say that on it?
Yeah, you are. Of course you are. Tell people what you mean by that, because I feel like some of our listeners who are very new to this might not understand that analogy.
Well, it's like if I go onto stage worried about, or bigging myself up about, or if whatever it is I'm feeling, if I go on stage feeling something for me, then it is just ego driven, and that's what I mean by the masturbation. It's very ego driven, and that does not allow it to be. For my own pleasure, for my own glorification, and that doesn't allow it to be fresh every night, because it's only fresh every night if the character lives it for the first time every night, and so that's what I have to do to keep it fresh every night.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that does put the fear into some people. It's like, oh my God, I'm on my 800th performance of this. It's getting boring now. But I think it's only boring if you allow it to be boring. I also want to ask you as well, like, so this is like the 3rd time you'll be doing Toxic now, but obviously it's a longer run. It's been developed, I imagine. Do you get the blues after doing shows? And if you do, how do you deal with them?
Yes, I get the blues so bad. I really struggle to let go of things in life in general.
Snap.
Yeah, it's that. Well, you'll know it's that ADHD hyperfixation thing. Like I become hyperfixated, which is shorthand for obsessed with my characters, and I love them like people. And you know, you go through all this stuff with them, and you give them life, and they do become a friend or a confidant, or you know, and they always reveal who you are as well in the process. You always find something new out about yourself, and so letting go of that is total grief and devastation for at least 3 days.
Oh my God, 3 days, is that it? God, it can go on for weeks for me.
Well, I say at least because it depends on the role, to be honest. But yeah, Andy will go on for weeks. I know that. I love him like a brother. And he's very close to me. And yeah, this is hard. And especially when you get to, it's half letting go of the character and half letting go of the job, because you go from being on stage every night, which is what you absolutely love, and building these characters, and to going back to your reality. So the way I deal with that, to answer the second part of your question, is by changing what my reality is, so by changing the reality that I go back to. So, for example, I haven't worked for anyone else for 3 years, and I'm very lucky to be in that position.
When you say work, do you mean acting work, or do you mean like a day job work?
Like a day job, like I've not been employed in 3 years. I've only been self-employed. So that completely changed the landscape of my reality, the reality I go back to when I say goodbye to a character, because I'm not waking up because somebody has said I need to be such and such between 9 and 5 to earn, not saying that that's wrong, because it's absolutely not, and people got to do what they got to do. And believe you me, I had to do that for a long time before I got to the point where I could stop it. And it's just about making that reality something not too terrible to go back to, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, like you're then finding joy in this next chapter after the character, whatever that might be. Is that what you're saying?
Totally. And I think when you're an artist like you or me, like you give everything to that play, that project, that TV, that character, like you give everything to it. So I used to, when I didn't like my life as much, when I wasn't doing the work I wanted to do, when I wasn't in the place I wanted to be, I would lose myself in these characters. And then coming back into that reality was devastating. It was like post-show blues times 1,000. So I've just continued to build on my reality and get it closer to what I want it to be, which also comes back to healing as well. Healing is totally vital for letting go of characters, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And also not clinging onto it from a place of fear as well, going, there will be another one, and I will find joy and creativity in this next character as well. I don't know when it'll be, but that's the exciting point. So we will get on to where people can buy tickets from to Toxic in a moment, but we've had a question come in. I don't know whether you saw this, but I put something on Instagram stories for Standby saying, got this actor who's doing a show in London. Have you got any questions for him? So Cameron, I know you're building up a fan base. Cameron, who I've just worked with, actually, she's lovely. She is asked, it's kind of going off topic a little bit from Toxic, but she says, what sacrifices have you had to make for your acting career, and do you regret any?
Oh, well, first of all, Karen, thank you so much for asking me a question. I feel like a celebrity. That is such a good question. And you know what, like, I know the answer immediately, even though it's not something I've ever sat down and quantitatively thought, what have I sacrificed for this? But I know the answer is everything. Like, I have sacrificed everything for this. And it took me a long while to get to the point where I realised I would have to sacrifice everything for this. But what I mean by that is, it gets to a point with your craft, I think, where you're in or you're out. And if it's such a hard game, if you are not going to give it absolutely everything, then, well, yeah, that was the question I asked myself. It's like, is this something I'm prepared to go through again and again and again? With all that, I mean, it comes with a lot of great stuff, but it comes with a lot of challenges too, like rejection, all the rest of it. And why would you do that to yourself if it could be avoided? So it got to the point where I was like, this is everything. And yes, I would do it all again. I don't regret a bit of it. In fact, the one thing I don't regret it, because I don't like to have regrets, but there'd be no regrets about what I've sacrificed. There'd just be regrets about not doing it sooner. Yeah. And those sacrifices are vital, because Patrick, who is prepared to lose it all, versus Patrick, who is tentatively dipping in a toe. If you could watch both of those performances, you'd see the difference. And if you watched both of those trying to build an acting career, you'd see the difference.
I love that answer. I think this is such a great place to end the podcast. You've just got me thinking like so much. I'm like really buzzing off your energy right now. Like sorry, you can probably hear one of my cats scratching in the background.
Oh, yeah.
She's telling me she wants feeding.
Oh, bless her.
So I'm just really inspired right now. I feel like, oh yeah, you've just got to you're either all in or you're not. I'm telling my students this all the time. I'm like, either do it or don't. You make the choice. Neither is wrong, neither is right. Just do it if you want to. So before we wrap up then, just tell us again where it's running, how long it's running for, where people can buy tickets. And then also I'd love people to come and follow you yourself on socials as well, to follow your acting career. So let us know where they can find that too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so Toxic is on between the 2nd and the 6th of May this year, down in the Big Smoke, London, at the Golden Goose Theatre. And you can get tickets by following Divided Culture Company on any social media. That's the production company. And if you head to their bio, you can see the links, or on their website if you don't have social media. And if you want to follow me on social media, on Instagram, I'm at the Patrick Price.
Of course, the Patrick Price.
Oh yeah, I changed it recently because I was like, right, when I am mega successful, I need a mega successful Instagram handle. It's that branding thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you got to fake it till you make it. And it's the same on Twitter, except instead of the Patrick Price, which was taken.
How rude.
I know. It's the Patrick Pride. So a D instead of a C.
Oh, I saw that. And I loved that, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, a little play on words.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, Louise, but I'm also a very proud homosexual.
Are you joking me?
No, darling. Seriously, I know it's shocking, but it's true.
I would never have known that ever. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for such an inspiring, insightful, beautiful, authentic conversation. I just know that our listeners are going to get so much from this. So thank you so much for giving up your time, Patrick. And I also want to wish you like all the best with the role, which I'm so excited to be coaching you with. Woohoo! And coming to see as well. Just, thank you so much. It's just been an amazing, amazing, amazing conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been so good to speak about this stuff with you. I always love talking shop with you, and I always love working with you, so I can't wait to come back to you. And yeah, this is where it began for me with you. So just thanks for everything, hon. I'm just thrilled to be where I am. I can't wait to see what's next for both of us.
Woohoo! Yes, definitely. And you are so welcome. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I hope you've took a lot from the episode.
I have absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. Now, if you did, I'd really love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a review. And if you would like weekly injections of inspiration, you'd like mini method acting challenges to keep you making progress with your dreams, come and join the most supportive acting community online by clicking the link in the notes to help you become an unstoppable actor.